How's it going, everyone? I want to redevelop my 15-minute ORB day trading strategy for single option plays. This is going to really get the purpose of this is to get your stop as tight as possible. Okay. So what I've noticed in this is if you draw the first 15-minute candle, here's your first 15-minute candle, your 9:30 to 9:45. This is going to create your opening range breakout. Basically, what that means is you're just trying to look for either it to break support down here or to break resistance up there. You short the market if it breaks support, and you go long if it breaks the upper line. So when I was looking at this thing, first thing to notice is it is an extremely massive ORB. These are really risky times if you see this, because what this means is your stop is bigger. Your stop is always, when price gets to this upper band, that's your stop area. And so when I'm looking at this, we have a break of structure here at the 1030. All right. A lot of the times, price you'll break structure here, go to this lower horizontal line, and then just go down. All right. But to see the best entry ideas, what I like, what I'm going to move on forward, and where I see this happen a lot, is you probably, getting inside of the middle orb is at the very least an entry you should take. So for example, if I see that this is your first 15-minute candle and I can kind of get a feel of what is like the middle orb at, you could draw this data price range and you could draw a line rated here to get that middle orb idea, which is about right there. So this is an area where if price gets down here and it's bearish, right? Because we have a break of structure. The next thing that you want to confirm with is option flow. You can look at heavy option flow. Is the puts higher than the calls at this opportunity? This was at 1040, 1030, and the answer is yes. Right here at 1030, the puts were way higher than the calls. So I want to take a bias of, hey, more puts are being bought than calls, and this is a great opportunity to short the market. So do you want to short it just right away? A lot of the times it will work, touching this lower orb and goes down. I think the best thing to do is just to be patient. And if it doesn't do this, then you don't take the trade. These single directional plays are really risky when the orb is this big. Because remember, your stop is if it crosses above here. Well, if it does that, that's a pretty big, stop, right? From this here to this is a 0.27% move. So if we can get at least to the middle orb, that's a better area to take it. And then you can also do like, hey, if it goes to the next area, we can do another order. You could scale in right in here. I don't really like the scaling in because the problem is your losses tend to be higher than your, some of your wins. Like what if you just do one order, you win, and then if you get a loss, you scale in. I'd say just one scale is good. So right in here, from this middle orb to down here, I mean, this was quite a drop from here to here. That's a 0.38% drop. Easily give you that 20% gain that you get. I like to look for 2 R&R. If I'm risking $100, I want to make 200. That's the analysis of that. Bless. But yeah, I was just looking at. I mean, this strategy is really good when the orbs are not as good big. Sorry, sorry guys. But when you're seeing a massive orb like this, you really gotta wait for a retest to this middle orb, or even if you really want to, you can wait for it to the upper orb, but not a lot of times it's going to do that. So this example, middle orb work. Let's look at some other examples, okay? And then a lot of the options I'm looking to buy are going to be, I think 7 DTEs are really good, at least 3 DTE. You can do a 7 DTE option and do one out of the money. And then if it goes in the money, you can make some good gains, just to give you that more wiggle room where theta's not kicking in as much. So I think 7 DT is a pretty good one. All right, so let's do another example here and see how often this works. All right. Obviously, we can't look at the call and puts volume, but as you can see, if you go ahead and do your 945 here, you can see right here, you have a break of structure, right? But this time, you can see how this day it worked pretty nice, right? It just kept going down, but we didn't get no retest up to these areas, okay? So you got to understand, not all the time are you going to get a break of structure and then it retests the middle orb. This is kind of a rare day that I just showed you, and that was why that was a kind of a hard day. Now, this day right here, I remember clearly that the put volume or the call volume was higher than the put volume. So you do not take this trade here. As you can see, it goes down, but then again, What happened though? You actually did retest to the middle orb here, guys. Literally retested the middle orb to plummet down. You would have easily made a solid gain. So not a bad idea. But in theory, though, the put volume or the call volume was higher, and that's why you had this massive move up. And then look at this scenario. We come up here, break to the upper orb. This is what I wanted to see on the day that I showed you. I wanted to see something like this. It comes back to upper orb, and it shoots back up and makes a new high. All right, that's what I wanted to see. But not all the times does price do what? Comes back into middle of war. All right, so you just got to understand that. A lot of times, you're just not going to get that. Right here is your, but if you're very picky, you can get a lot of stuff like this. Look at this day right here. I don't know what the call and option volume. This was FOMC actually, so we can't really direct that day. I don't trade FOMC. Basically, guys, if you have any high volatility event after like 2 p.m., you can expect a lot of sideways price action. Here is a really good example. This is a really good example. This day, and this is why I say this day, you would ignore this signal. Why? Because the call volume was higher. Remember, if you look up on here, if the call volume is higher than the puts, I tend to look for a double orb type play. Here's your single orb. Here's your false. This is a false breakout to the downside. So we look at this and be like, okay, 1030 is bull puts. Or 1030 is bullish price action. Now, can we take it up here? Absolutely not. We can't just randomly take it up here because we have no retest. So what we do is we look for around that retest area. And as you can see, tighter you get to this lower orb, the better. And you can see, are we at the middle orb? Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's your middle orb. So if you're more patient, you can really get these nice entries here. And, yeah, you had to wait till 2 o'clock to get that entry. It retested it, but look at this nice entry you got. All the way up to here, making a solid freaking pump up in there, making you at least a 2 R&R there, right? You're easily a 2 R&R. Very, very good there. So yeah, let's just do one more example here, and you'll see. If you're very picky, this is kind of how I'm looking for it. These one-directional plays. One-directional, they're a lot harder. And a lot of times you're going to get something like this, guys. See? You see the break of structure here, and then look, top of orb, it bounces up. But remember, I mean, with the 15-minute orb, it's quite a big ORB. So you're risking, if you buy it here, look at the massive, you can have a lot more drawdown compared to something like this. You get in on the middle orb, and look how little your drawdown is, okay? It cuts it in half, all right? So I'm willing to risk that and be like, you know what? If it don't give me alert and it just goes off, that is totally fine. All right, this gets pretty addicting, right? Let's see what rate in here we get. False entry there. Put volume, most likely call volume was higher. But look at right here. Even if you lose on this trade, look what you can do though. You could retake this trade to the upside. Look at this. We get the upside signal here. We broke out of this upper orb here. Where is our halfway mark? It's right up in here. Is the halfway of the orb. You get in on an entry here, and bam. Look at that. You make up all your gains. So the secret is to have a 2 R&R. If let's say you lost on this trade, you took it to the downside, and it just plumps up to the upside, right? You take it at this middle orb, it goes up to this upper orb, and you just cut it loose, right? Well, you take a fast loss, but then if you get in again to the right side, you take a long side, and then guess what? You make it all back and then some. That's the power of buying options. Is as a buyer, you always want to have a positive R&R, all right? So if you look at something like this, you can also have tools to see your R&R, right? Webull has a long position tool here, and you can see, well, if you get in here and you're risking this, all right, like if price just goes slightly below this lower orb, you get stopped out. I'm looking for that, and then if you get in on this middle orb, this is right there. And then you drag this up to be a 2RR. You can see right here, you get a 2R literally just on that move here. So you risk this little, you get this 2RR. And that's literally all you're doing, guys. And so right up in here, if you risk $100, you want to make $200. And then bam, you're done. And so you can see how that works. You had to have a 2R&R for these scenarios. All right. So hope you guys like this 15-minute ORB strategy. If you're in the Discord, I'll let you guys know what the option flow is looking like. That does cost quite a bit to have that data, but I will let you guys know in the Discord for sure what it looks like. Is it okay to take this orb? We're looking for that middle of orb opportunity. I've been seeing it too many times. Yeah, you can be a little risky, but like here's the bottom of the 15-minute, a retest of this lower orb happens a lot, and then it dumps down. But what if the scenarios where it comes up into the middle of orb? Because if you got it here at this middle orb, let's see. Let's just take an example here. You might have not got your 2 R&R. I'm very curious here. But yeah, you want to make sure you do get it. Right up in here is your volume price range. So there's your middle orb here. You can see right up in here, we can put our middle orb there, align it correctly there. So that's about where your middle is. You obviously, to a T, literally how price action, uses that middle orb as resistance, to a T, hits it and goes down. So we would look to short the market here at the middle orb. All right, let's make sure this is to the T. Short the market there. Our stop is up here. It's a bigger orb. This is why I hate these kind of days. They're bigger orbs. All right, so we short the market there. We take that there. I just don't think that's a 2 R&R, unfortunately, as we come down. And no, our 2R is down here at the lows. So this trade would have not have panned out either way. As you could see, you just didn't get quite the move down you needed. You need at least a 2R. You're risking this much of the upside. So this trade, unfortunately, you lose because price just goes down and then comes back up. All right. I don't like to take these end-of-day trades as obviously it never got to the middle orb anyways. But yeah, that's that right there, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. This is how I'm looking to do 15-minute time frame on the ORB using unusual call option and put volume. Like I said, I'll push this in the day trade alerts. I'll let you guys know, is there unusual calls? Is there unusual puts for the day? What is the orb looking like? And then all that good stuff. Okay, guys? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a like, subscribe, comment. Make sure you join the Discord. It's $12 a month to learn all my strategies. My selling credit spread strategy is absolutely my favorite. I actually did a bear call strategy here. I actually got it here in that middle of orb. Price went down, price went up. Even though price went against me, I was actually able to break even here before it got even worse. If I held on to it, I would have won and got the full game. But I like the credit spread strategy because you win in 3 directions. So make sure you learn that strategy. Make sure you click the link down below in YouTube comments below to join my Discord or in my description. It'll tell you join the premium Discord for my alerts. It'll take you to this free chat landing page. Make sure you hit how to subscribe and hit day trade alerts. All right, if you subscribe on your computer, it's $12 a month. If you use your phone, it might charge you a little extra. If you're using your Android, it won't let you do it, so make sure you use your phone's browser or just use a computer is the best way. All right, guys, that's my 15-minute orb day trading lecture strat on one-directional strats, and I'll keep you guys updated on improvements and all that. But this works very well. Just make sure you get that 2R to R, and you'll be fine, guys. All right, guys, peace out. Happy trading.